Do we want to dunk on J.K. Rowling first? Yeah, we can do that. I like dunking on J.K. Rowling. As you all know, this channel basically runs because Erin Reed is allowed to work. Erin Reed does really good work. You should go subscribe to her stuff. I finally did what I said I was going to do. She is the backbone of my trans news coverage. Her work is invaluable. You should support her if you can. That aside, still cool to go and be able to talk about a bunch of stuff here, including J.K. Rowling once again showing her ass live. Earlier this month, J.K. Rowling basically did Holocaust denialism by saying that trans people weren't targeted in the Holocaust, which is a provably false statement. So, in fact, provably false that several people were able to do so almost instantaneously on Twitter, and it was very funny. Now, before I continue, I would like to acknowledge the misogyny that is going to come from me criticizing J.K. Rowling in any way. No, I'm not going to let Women Shut Up challenge tweet go. It was too funny. This article does talk a little bit more about J.K. Rowling's specific stuff, but I do want to talk more about the thing. Here's J.K. Rowling's tweet. The tweet she's responding to: the Nazis burnt books on trans healthcare and research. Why are you so desperate to uphold their ideology around gender? This is based, by the way, this person right here, based. J.K. Rowling says, how? How did you type this out? I'm not doing the British voice because that would be transphobic to all of you. How did you type this out and press send without thinking, I should maybe check my source for this because it might have been a fever dream? A fever dream, she says. I am Britphobic. J.K. Rowling is the sole reason that I have no respect for anyone born in Britain. The exchange promoting a denial that transgender people were targeted in the Holocaust was triggered by a tweet questioning why individuals like Rowling increasingly find themselves aligned with Nazis, which is true, who burned books on transgender healthcare and research in 1933. Nazis indeed targeted transgender individuals in early Germany. The Institute of Sexology, led by Magnus Hirschfeld, was the first institute to advance the study and medical care of transgender people in Berlin. The institute provided transgender individuals with employment and transvestite passes for a form of legal gender recognition in the city. Many frequented safe spaces, such as the El Dorado, a club depicted in photographs where trans people are seen smiling and engaging in conversation, dancing, and socializing. Magnus Hirschfeld was intensely targeted during the rise of Nazism in Germany. Hitler notoriously labeled Hirschfeld the world's most dangerous Jew. An early edition of Nazi publication, Der Stürmer, focusing on Hirschfeld, accused him of grooming youth, echoing contemporary attacks on LGBTQ individuals today. A few years later, the German Student Union, a Nazi-aligned youth group, looted the institute and burned thousands of books. And here's like the screenshot print of this thing. Hold on, getting my transvestite pass to get myself a blazer. True. Who here hasn't gotten their transvestite pass yet? Fake trans. When you're a trans medicalist, but only in the sense that you don't have a transvestite pass from Berlin in 1933. Yeah, no, it really is impressive how nasty of a habit she has of saying utter bullshit. Trans people were directly targeted by Nazi Germany for their gender identity and the way that they dressed. For example, transgender woman Liddy Barcroft was sent to a camp after police stated she was fundamentally a transvestite and a morals criminal of the worst sort, where she was eventually murdered. Transgender woman Gerd R. was forced by the Gestapo to stop living as a woman and interred in a concentration camp and later took her own life. Transgender woman Toni Simon was sent to a concentration camp after being deemed a pronounced transvestite and thus a threat to Nazi society. Many more sources detail. Oh, I like this. I like this little design choice here in the article of like many more sources, and there's 4 sources here. Each word. Detail the persecution of transgender people by Nazi Germany in the way in which they were targeted, and research about them was burned. In a special report by historian Laurie Marhofer on behalf of Central European History Society and the American Historical Association, she found Nazi officials did not simply think trans women were gay men. They recognized trans women as different from gay men in ways that mattered. Nazi officials had a concept of transvestitism in as distinct form, though related to homosexuality, or distinct from, though related to homosexuality. To quote Voss's 1938 book, by transvestites, we generally mean those persons who have the wish to primarily wear the clothing of the other sex and act more or less as the opposite sex. In all of the cases I've examined, state officials refer to the accused people as transvestites, even when they also identified them as homosexual, which they did not always do. Officials often claimed that transvestitism was an aggravating factor, something that made the case more dire, the accused person more deserving of a heavier sentence. J.K. Rowling is not only a piece of shit, but she's also wrong. And also, here's the thing. Do you want to know my honest take? My honest take on this right here? J.K. Rowling knows all of this and knew all of this before making this tweet. She's just a Nazi, like at this point. The thing is that I actually do believe that J.K. Rowling is a very intelligent person, a relatively intelligent person. And I think that J.K. Rowling is probably a well-read person. Given that she's got more money than God, I don't think she has much time, like much more that she could do other than to be a little bit well-read. She probably has the money to be way more educated than a lot of people do. And I honestly do think that she knows all of this and she's just playing stupid because she agrees with the Nazis and doesn't want to say so. You probably knew enough that it was wrong enough to not say in a public forum, at least. Yeah. I mean, definitely though. Let's continue more on the anti-trans stuff of the month of March. The month in review on anti-trans things. Do you think the wealth might have something to do with it? Like it started her on the pathway that led her here? I don't think that wealth inherently is going to put you on the path to being a Nazi. I think that wealth gives you a lot better access to resources where you have the opportunity to not be a Nazi. And so it's weird that a lot of people who are wealthy end up being Nazis. Yeah, Christy, if there's anyone who should be legally banned from accessing the internet, coming full circle. Let's go with this one. This is another specific story that was brought to my attention. It is very funny. Trans darts player on her history-making win, tattoos, and boost from organizers' support. So we had a trans dart player that won a challenge tour event. I don't know what any of that. I don't play darts, so I don't know what any of this means. We're just going to pretend that all of this is like really fucking impressive, and we're going to congratulate Noah Lynn here. She won. Apparently, this is a very big thing. Again, I don't know anything about darts. This article talks about her transition and her going into the sport, and it's very good. It's very cool. There have been difficult moments. When she won the women-only Denmark Open last May, she was made to feel ostracized because transphobia. And yeah, this is a really wholesome article, though. We can read through some of it. One of dart's rising star continues to blaze a trail for trans athletes after claiming a maiden title success on her debut at the PDC Challenge Tour. Noah Lynn Van Leuven is the first woman to win an event in the series, which is for players competing one level below the sport's top tier. There are 24 Challenge Tour events across the year, and the top two in the order of merit at the end of the campaign qualify for the World Championships and receive 2-year PDC Tour cards, elevating them into the elite ranks. Last weekend, 2024's second batch of 5 back-to-back events was held in Hildesheim in northern Germany. Van Leuven said she was hoping to bring her A game to the Osh when making her tournament bow. She surprised even herself by winning 6 matches in a row to take victory in the very first event. That landed the Dutch star a top prize of over $3,000. And following the weekend with 10 events out of the 24 completed, she is in the 9th spot in the order of merit, well placed to push on when the Challenge Tour action resumes in Leicester, UK in June. Bring her E-game. Yeah. No, it's really cool. I like this. This is a good thing. I'm sure there are going to be a bunch of transphobes. I was told that there was some reaction. I don't see that in this article, like a bunch of people being mad. Yeah, so there were media interviews and being a center of debate around it. However, the PDC, which is the sport's foremost organization globally, has been supporting LGBTQ inclusion initiatives such as the Rainbow Laces campaign for several years. So that's cool. Yeah. So I'm sure she's going to get a lot of like backlash from transphobes. They're going to say that, I don't know, like estrogen makes you better at throwing darts, which is neat. I can't wait to see like a trans woman like do latte art and then somebody like tell her that like her chromosomes make her better at making coffee. That's going to be very funny. But yeah, so that was cool. And then we gotta get to the not fun stuff. Yeah, trans women are better at chess too. We're actually better at all sports. It is scientifically correct that the only people who are good at sports are trans women specifically. Someone was trying to say that being a man meant she biologically was more accurate. These people look for anything. I mean, you know, if that were the case, I could really use that skill because I can't hit shit. Trans women are the final evolution. We are actually the final stage of human evolution. But let's go over this. This was just last week. This will probably be the last thing that we talk about as far as like the anti-trans stuff, slash trans stuff. Massive defeat for anti-trans and anti-LGBTQ riders in spending bill as Dems hold firm. On Thursday, Congress unveiled the much anticipated spending bill to avert a government shutdown. The bill, which includes funding for major government departments such as Health and Human Services and Education, featured fierce negotiation over conservative policy riders. These policy riders included bans on coverage for gender affirming care, DEI bans, sports bans, and more. Despite some indications that Democrats might compromise due to the sheer number of conservative policy riders, it appears those fears did not come to fruition. Democrats hold firm in negotiations, and the most impactful anti trans and anti LGBTQ riders are nowhere to be found. Thank you, Naomi Chance, for the $5. My life is like a video game trying hard to beat the stage, all while I'm still collecting coins. So true. So true. One policy writer proposed for the Food and Drug Administration would have defunded any hospital that distributes, sells, or otherwise uses drugs that disrupt the onset of puberty or sexual development for those under 18, a measure targeting not only trans youth, but also those experiencing precocious puberty. Another writer sought to bar any government funding towards surgical procedures or hormone therapy for the purposes of gender affirming care in the Department of Health and Human Services. Additional riders included bans on funding for any organization that promotes transgenderism, Title IX protections for trans youth, bans on legal challenges against states over anti-LGBTQ laws, book bans, DEI bans. It's insane how, by the way, this is why bullying your politicians. This is also why keeping tabs on bills that are being passed at the federal level, not even just like the very specific policy bills, but like things like this. That's why this is important because oftentimes this is what they do. They will take issues like this, like wedge issues, and they will hide them in bills like this in order to get what they want through without having to make a whole new law on it, because it's a lot easier to pass something like this in a larger bill that's designed to provide funding to a specific department than it is to, pass something like this as its own like specific thing. And yeah, it's really good that the Dems actually were able to prevent a lot of this shit from going through. Again, I don't want to be like a broken record. I've talked before about electoralism and why we can't just like write it off. This is why we need to continue trying to get more supportive politicians in office, because shit like this is what could happen. Like we literally could have had a budget bill passed that would have included all of this shit. Yeah, disengagement is easy. Fighting through the proverbial muck for the best you can get is hard. And that again, God, I was reminded of do you remember the clip of Jon Stewart when he came back to the Daily Show talking about policy and how, you know, fighting for policy is not something that you do once, it's something that you do day in and day out forever. You not only have to like worry about, the election day, but also every day before and every day after forever until you die. I think about that clip a lot. And this is one of those issues that kind of show that, right? Like we can't just stop, like only think about this stuff when it comes to elections, because this stuff is being thought about every single day at the policy level. We do this every day forever until we die. It is grueling work and it sucks, but someone has to do it. And I do feel like if you are legitimately invested in politics and you are legitimately invested in political change, you have to care about this shit. I really needed Jon Stewart back in my life. Me too. I'm glad to see him back. I also kind of feel sorry for him a little bit. Like, God, does he look his age? And I feel sorry that he has to be doing this. at his age. Yeah, just a few people could flip a lot right now, Andrew. It really is this is why this is so important, because when we have instances where there's a majority or, we are having a hard time getting stuff passed through, we could have a huge difference just by electing a couple of representatives. And this is basically all I wanted to go through. Just kind of a quick look at, some of the trans related news of the last month. And we'll probably get into more. But I don't want this to be the only thing I ever talk about. And I've done segments like this a lot in the past, which is why I'm being so quick with it. That's about all we got. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe. And if you'd like to support the channel further, you can become a channel member by clicking the join button, leave a super chat or a super thanks. You can become a patron at patreon.com/SaigeAlexis, or you could donate to my coffee. The link for that will be in the description below. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.